Since I already talked a bit about Wavebreaker's mages in my last video, it's now time to learn about the magic system. One thing you need to know first is that while I can enjoy hard magic systems with lots of rules and clearly defined powers, for my own projects I like to err on the side of softer magic systems. That being said, Wavebreaker's magic system has an underlying logic that it builds upon, and that's what I'm here to explain today. The two most important words to understand first are essence and potential. Essence describes the power or energy that every living being carries inside its body. This includes plants and mushrooms as well. Everything that isn't completely dead matter is considered living and contains some amount of essence. How much exactly is described by their potential. Every individual being has its own potential, though the variance seems to be highest in humanoids, and so for people specifically, potential is divided into 3 categories: empties, middlers, and talents. About 9 out of 10 people are empties, meaning while their body contains some essence, there is too little of it to be used in any meaningful way. Empties cannot learn magic, no matter how long they study it for. Since the majority of people are empties, the term itself is used very rarely outside of mages circles, where it's often meant in a derogatory way. Of the remaining 10% of the population, most are middlers, a very broad term describing everybody with more potential than an empty, but less than a talent. As is to be expected, the variance in this category is particularly high. While all middlers can potentially learn to cast magic, some will never make it past the basics. The third and final category, the talent, describes those people with potential so high it runs the risk of overflowing. If taught magic from a young age, they could one day become some of the most powerful mages in the world. But at the same time, if a talent remains undiscovered for too long, their potential will eventually overflow, causing them to develop their powers on their own. This is dangerous not only for the people around them, but also the talents themselves, who in most cases have very little control over their newfound powers. This overflowing of potential is one of the reasons the magic school of the Arcanum goes looking for students at a very young age. It is known that it will take a child roughly until the onset of puberty to develop their full potential, and after that, hormonal changes that lead to emotional imbalances often cause talents to overflow during their early years of puberty. Now on to what magic users can actually do with their potential. Since essence is bound to the body it resides in, there is no way for a fireball or other long-ranged magic you might be thinking of to exist in this world. Most magic is used to manipulate one's own essence into changing certain aspect of one's body. It is also possible to gain access to other living bodies by touching them directly and taking control over their essence. What this might look like in practice is, for example, to change your eyes to be able to see in the dark, to strengthen your muscles for physical tasks, or to harden your skin against outside blows. If you touch somebody else, you could paralyze them by making them lose control over their own muscles, or blind them by changing their eyesight. But all of this requires constant concentration, and if you are changing someone else's body, it requires constant touch as well. If you lose either concentration or contact, the effect will wear off immediately. So what if someone else snuck up on you from behind, and then gained access to your essence through a single touch? What could you do to defend yourself from that? That depends on 2 things: your training and your potential. With enough training you could possibly wrestle back control over your own body, but funnily enough, having high potential could work out against you in this case. The higher your potential, the more control over your body could be gained, so in some ways mages are actually more vulnerable to magic than everybody else. An empty without training might not have a chance to wrestle for control, but they might not need that in the first place if their potential is so low that it can't be meaningfully used to control their body. One more thing to keep in mind about essence: since it is bound to the living body, as soon as the body dies, the essence disappears. It doesn't dissipate into the air or slowly fade away, It disappears at the exact moment of death and therefore is no longer accessible. The essence of a flower is gone the moment you pluck it. I've been using the terms mage and magic user throughout this video. They are not exactly interchangeable, so let me explain the difference. A mage is specifically only someone who has graduated the Arcanum's rigorous program, and therefore been granted the legal rights to cast magic. Anyone else who did not go to the Arcanum but is for one reason or another still capable of casting magic is a magic user. Talents whose potential has overflown, leaving them with hard-to-control powers, are colloquially called sorcerers. They are seen as the biggest threat to the Arcanum, rightfully so because of their huge potential, and are actively being hunted and killed by mages. Their lack of training combined with their potential leaves them especially vulnerable to magic. The other, and technically last kind of magic user, is a person trained in magic but not by the Arcanum. These people are called witches. Witch, in this case, being a gender-neutral term. This category includes some talents as well, but mostly middlers who were taught magic in secret. There are rumors about some witches eating the flesh of living animals and even people to ingest some of their essence and grow stronger in the process. It is, however, unclear if these rumors are true, or if this is simply Arcanum propaganda. You might have noticed that I said witches were technically the last kind of magic user, and they are, but there's one more magic-adjacent kind of category I'd like to mention here. That category is people born with the third sight, sometimes called spiritualists. These are almost always empties, and as such incapable of casting magic themselves. But what they are capable of is seeing things others can't see. Spiritualists see abstract shapes and colors floating through the air, ignoring walls and other obstacles entirely. It is unclear what exactly they are seeing, but some believe the third sight might be a glimpse into another dimension, and the glowing shapes might be the essences of beings from said dimension. The existence of other parallel dimensions has been speculated for a while, but up until fairly recently nobody had managed to travel to one of them. That is, until a high mage discovered the dimension known as the Hollow, that can nowadays be used by high mages to travel quickly from one place to another. Dimensions are only tangentially related to the magic systems, but since I already mentioned them, I might as well finish this video by telling you a little bit about the Hollow. The Hollow is a mysterious dimension that is mostly empty, hence the name. It is an endless flat plain with just a few inches of water covering the rock-hard ground. Somewhere in the distance there is a sun on the horizon that never moves from its position. Is it an eternal sunset or a sunrise instead? Nobody knows. For a while it was believed this was everything there was to it, but over the decades since 2 more discoveries have been made. First, time moves much slower in the Hollow than it does back home, so no matter how much time you spend in there, when you return, almost no time will have passed. Additionally, the Hollow is not quite as empty as it was first believed to be. Every now and then, swarms of warm light float through the air, slowly and always towards the distant sun. The few people who have witnessed this say, if you get close to these lights, you can hear them whisper in your ears, like quiet and unintelligible voices.